o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Christian County Library's Board of Trustees meeting. If anybody needs tonight's meeting agenda, they can be found on the table between the two doors. We'll start with the consent agenda. Are there any items that we need to remove from the consent agenda and discuss individually? All right, I'll take that as a no. So we've got the minutes from the November meeting, the adjustments of the anticipated bills for November 23, the estimated bills for December of 23, the balance sheet, the monthly report, and the report of the executive director. As there are no, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's see, we got Trustee Alexander.
Aye.
Trustee Brazil.
Aye.
Trustee Hagan.
Aye.
All right, as we're going to adopt the items from the consent agenda. Moving on to administrative highlights, tonight we'll hear from the outreach.
Yes, I've asked Nicholas Holliday is going to talk a little bit about the outreach department and the scope of some of what they do and where all we reach in the county.
It is. Yeah, my name's Nicholas. Scott is our outreach manager, and he should be on his way, but he might have got caught up. But I'm not Scott, and if you know Scott, it's pretty funny because I'm taller than Scott.
We're going to tell him you said that.
That's fine. So Scott's the outreach manager, and he wrote out what he was going to say, so I'm just going to kind of go through it. And but these are his words. He started out that he's been working for the Christian County Library for 23 years, and I believe he's our oldest tenured staff member. And throughout that time, he's seen some real change and growth, and he's going to want to start with the outreach department's mission, which is to provide equitable delivery of library resources and services for all people living in the county. Broadly, the day-to-day involves delivering materials to those who can't leave their homes, taking them to schools, community stops, and attending community events, such as parades. Since he's been with the outreach department, he's seen it grown from one person, which was just him, now running the show with 4 different staff members. And up until this year, they worked in a very limited space in the Ozark branch, but once we purchased the Nixa annex, the growth has helped a lot. A lot more space and a lot more area for them to bring their materials. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. The schedule changes every week regarding site visits. They usually complete around 71 service runs a month. They're broken down into schools and daycares, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and homebound. There are 2 ways that they work with the schools, and they're both based on need. The first is provide age-appropriate materials to school librarians, and the second is allowing the students to select the materials directly. So far this year, we've circulated 7,600 titles through the 6 schools that we visit throughout the county. Monthly visits to the daycares is also instrumental in child's early literacy skills, and last year we delivered approximately 800 materials to local daycares. Adding 4 full-service branches in the county means 95% of the population is within 10 miles of a library. However, for some of our patrons that have mobility limitations, both permanent and temporary, those branches need to be brought into their homes. Every week, outreach visits nursing homes and assisted living facilities. There's 12 to be exact. Similar to the schools, the visits are based on need. Some facilities received unaccessioned materials, some received personalized hand-selected materials, and the others are set up as mini libraries where residents can browse and select their own books, audiobooks, and movies. Patrons living in assisted living facilities and nursing homes are very appreciative. They tell us that all the time. These are our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents, and our parents of people in the county. Carla of Castlewood Living told us, quote, "I wouldn't know what to do without your monthly visits. There's nothing on TV that I want to watch, and I love the bookmobile." Another way we bring the library branches to some of our patrons in most need is through the Homebound program. On Wednesdays, we travel from Billings to Chadwick and everywhere in between, delivering personalized library materials straight to their doors. In order to receive home delivery, it's pretty simple. A patron would just need impaired mobility and they're eligible. Our checkout numbers for the homebound program run between 350 and 390 materials each month. Roughly more than 4,500 this year so far. I can't emphasize enough how important this service is. Kathy, who lives in Billings, said, quote, "I don't have a car, so the delivery service is great. The books and DVDs keep me entertained, and I don't need cable or satellite. The reading material keeps me informed and helps my cognition." William, who is here in Nixa, said, quote, "Thank you for bringing my mother and I books. You are really appreciated, and I think your boss should give a raise." Suspicious for that part. Delivering materials is not all that outreach does. Some days it feels like a real party, especially while attending community celebrations and events. We're talking about holiday parades, sucker days, persimmon days, Clever Freedom Celebration, the Spooktacular, Nixpo, and the list goes on and on. It's not an embellishment to say the library is popular. We are constantly told by children and adults how much they love the library and appreciate our services. The kids at Chadwick School request materials all the time and are extremely happy to get them. When we visit the senior centers in Nixa and Ozark, they want to hear about the genealogical resources and the crafting events. Scott, come on back up.
I'm sorry, I was late. My mom.
We are right here. You probably already know. That's
Okay.
This is Scott.
Hello. Hello.
I see what you mean about the height difference.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. You probably already know that that you can place a hold on an item and have it delivered to the library branch closest to your home. We do that. But you might not know that you can request library materials to be delivered to our community partners located in cities that have branches. It's true. Outreach delivery materials patrons put on hold to Billings Public Library, the Double E Ice Cream and Burger Shop in Highlandville, and Kay's Market in Chadwick. These are all locations in Cool Cat. Once we deliver the materials to community partner locations, the patron only needs to show their library card to pick them up. I mentioned earlier that we visit daycares in an effort to build literacy skills. It doesn't end there. Research shows that letter sound knowledge and recognition is the strongest predictor for school. That means that better build literacy skills and school preparedness is having freely and widely available books. Outreach does this by taking donated materials out into the community where people are. We're talking about laundromats, the X Center, the OC, health clinics, the least of these, and more. The books dropped off at these locations are for the community to take home and enjoy. They don't have to bring them back. Think a little like the free little library, but better and bigger. This year we've already surpassed the amount of 12,000 books to these locations. I could go on and on about the work that our department does, such as taking donated materials to the Christian County Jail, or hosting pop-up library card drives, or I could just simply say that we're busy. Often nicknamed the fifth branch because of the amount of materials we circulate, we say working. Together the outreach team works to ensure the community is served to the best of our ability and to their needs are met beyond the walls of the library branches.
Thank you, Scott. Does anyone have any questions for Scott about
Any
outreach?
questions?
I think that'd be great to include your full report in the minutes, because I think those are numbers that the community would love
Okay.
to see, so thank you.
Fantastic, good.
Okay, we're going to move into old business. The first is the parent resource review. There was, and Renee and I spoke about this, so I'm going to go over it, some comments last month, I'm sorry, about the parent resource and the ability to put limits on cards for children, on library cards for children, and what they can and can't do. So I wanted to kind of go over those again, as well as remind you that Renee is working on a website, a page for the website with all the parent resources, and this information will be on there as well. When you get a library card, or if you have a library card and you have a minor, so that's anyone under the age of 18 that you're getting a card for, you can let the librarian know at the desk that that you want them to have guardian approval before they check out books. That means if I am the mother and my two children have library cards, then if I'm the only name on that card with them, because an adult's name a child's card has to be attached to an adult, then I am the only person who can give permission for them to check out materials. A note will pop up if I ask for it. When they go to check out a book, the librarian will see it. And so if 8-year-old Joe comes to the desk with a stack of books, if his guardian, whose name is listed on his account, is not with him, he cannot check those books out. So that is an option for parents to do, to request, and all you have to do is talk to the librarian. If grandma is taking Joe to the library and her name's on the account, then grandma can check the books out, but Joe cannot check the books out himself because the guardian is not there. That goes, it's all or nothing, so that's any book in the library, whether it's in the children's section, the adult section, a DVD, a game, whatever it is, they will have to have that guardian permission in order to access that. You also, as a parent, when you sign up for a library card, have access to your child's account online, so you can see what books they've checked out. So if you don't have this service on your card, but you do want to monitor what your child is checking out, or if you decide to give them the freedom to check out what they want and see what they're checking out, you can always review that list online. And this goes for any minor. So there's no, if they're considered a minor in the state of Missouri, then they are considered a minor in the library, and that means that you can put those restrictions on their cards. So hopefully, I think this was something that was brought up last month as something that they wanted, and hopefully this is something that some of you will appreciate to give you a little bit more control over what your child is checking out. So wanted to review that again. And again, when you go to get your library card, that will be provided with the paperwork moving forward to make sure that you have that information. If you have a library card and your child has a library card, you can go at any time and ask for that restriction to be put on your child's card. I'm not going to take questions at this moment, but after the meeting, if you want to ask, you're more than welcome to. Hopefully that alleviates some of the concern that I know some of you guys have had about the freedom to check out any book in the library and wanting to have a little bit more control. Okay, moving on, the 2024 Foundation meeting schedule, we had tabled that at the last meeting since not everybody was with us. Want to take a look at that. Again, this is the foundation meetings, and typically in the past a board member has represented, or trustee member has represented the board of trustees at each meeting, just one of us at each meeting. We can just kind of go through the calendar and see what works with everybody's schedule. As you can see, their meetings are on Wednesdays. If we have one that can't be covered, that is fine. But we try to be there if we can. So I guess I'll just go down the calendar and...
I'll take January.
Okay.
And I'll put a timer on my phone.
I'll remind you.
Okay. Is anyone February or can't do February? Okay, I'll do February then. March?
Just a second. Give me just a second.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I should be able to do March.
Okay. April?
I can do April.
Okay. May?
Pick me.
Okay. June? I can do June. July?
Oh, let's put me in and try it again.
Okay. August?
I'll take August.
Okay. September?
I can take September.
Okay. October?
I'll take it.
Okay. November? I can do November. And December. That looks like the fun one.
It is the fun one.
I'll try it.
Party.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Janice?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, if it gets closer to the date, and because all of us have busy schedules, so if it gets closer to the date, we can shuffle around, or if nobody can go, that's also okay. But we just like to try to have somebody there if possible.
And I'll send you emails reminding you of the dates tonight and then kind of like the other board packet, I send out the board packets to them. So, and it is a permanent non-voting seat. So it's just that they wrote into their bylaws that they wanted to have close communications with the board and the staff, and so they allowed the board and the staff to each have a representative just listening in at every meeting and participating however much they want to, just not voting.
Okay, moving on to new business, officer elections. 'Tis the season. We just did this a few months ago when we had new members brought onto the board. So those, Tori, if we wanted, could we do a slate, or do we have to do each position individually?
You could make a motion to keep them the same if you don't want to recast them again, since
Okay.
we just did it, but.
Unless somebody has a desire to hold a different position and would like to nominate themselves.
I would motion to keep the slate the same.
Second.
Okay, trustee Alexander?
Aye.
Trustee Brazil?
Aye.
Trustee Hagan?
Aye.
Trustee Szynski?
Aye.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Renee, Library Advocacy Day.
So this is an annual event where librarians go to Jefferson City. So it will be February 6th of 2024. And it's a coordinated event where librarians and sometimes their trustees from across the state will coordinate scheduling appointments with their own representatives and state senators. And just kind of, usually it's like 10 minutes we meet with the representative, and often that gets changed in the spur of the moment, and you have to schedule and reschedule and walk across the Capitol and back across again in a hurry. But we really, it's just to touch base with them, you know, make sure they know who we are, introduce new trustees or new staff members, just connect with them about any upcoming legislation that may have impacts on the library, keep in front of their minds how the library is serving the community, that sort of thing. So we've always opened that up to trustees to go along in the past with varying participation over the years. So we just wanted to get the date on your radar. You don't have to decide right this minute whether or not you're able, but it is a full day, starts early morning, long drive, lots of walking. Yes, in February. And there's always the chance that weather will force it to be rescheduled, but we are usually there till 5-ish or so, and sometimes a meal or event afterwards. And then so plan on like 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. sort of a day. So just be thinking about it. If you're interested, let me know. It's a Tuesday.
Groundhog Day.
No,
Sixth.
February 6th.
Oh, I thought you said second, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I hope it's not Groundhog
No.
Day. Not be a good Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a good one to repeat. So if you know you might be interested now, let me know if you, but you can also get back with me. I just wanted to get it out on the radar. If we have multiple trustees go, then we have complications with noticing as a meeting, and we have to write separately and stuff like that, but it's still open to everybody.
Okay. All right. We are now going to move into the public comment portion of the meeting. As per the board's updated public comment policy, as a general rule, the board will not respond to public comments at the time they are made. The board may ask clarifying questions, comment, or take action at their discretion. Questions for staff about library operations should be made during normal business hours. And as I've said before, disruptions won't be tolerated, so please keep that in mind so that we can make sure to get through everybody. We have 7 speakers tonight. We should be able to get through everyone as long as everyone's respectful. So remember, 3 minutes. David Rice, you're up.
There's 6 sheets for everybody.
We've already got it. She copied it for us already.
Okay. All right, ready. Let's discuss genderqueer. In it, when a young girl is exposed to pagan idolatry, page 69, she becomes confused about who she is. She fantasizes about having a massive, painful boner all day long, on page 93. She wants to have her healthy breasts removed, page 38. She was exposed as a child to a book that made her hate being a woman, page 30, and exposed to erotic gay fiction, page 116. She wants to be called a boy and be seen as a boy, page 81. She fantasizes with illustrations about sex between a grown man with a beard and a young prepubescent boy, page 135. In other words, her upbringing and the books she read traumatized her to the point she has gender dysphoria,
This is the second time we read from authors that porn affected the way they saw themselves as children. The ancient Assyrian goddess, Ishtar, represented by a rainbow, was both male and female. Her followers were forced to sacrifice their children to her through death or ritual prostitution. Every woman had to spend 1 day a year working in Assyrian temples as a prostitute. Among her powers were to turn man into a woman and a woman into a man. In the descent of Ishtar, we are told of some of her participants in her cult. The male prostitutes combed their hair before her. The right side they adorned with women's clothing, the left side they covered with men's clothing. The revelry and competition ended in a bloody spectacle of self-cutting. The cult is represented in genderqueer. I spoke to the executive director about my concerns over these ancient practices where every woman was a sexual slave and children were used as sexual objects by the community. The practices of Ishtar today, like then, breed misogyny and child exploitation. They aren't dead practices. Ishtar's followers carry her rainbow today. I reminded her that Christianity set a new ethical standard in Matthew 19:14. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." This ethic reshaped the world's treatment of children and began the process of outlawing and criminalizing the sexual abuse of children. Christ did this and no one else. I begged her to apply this ethic to the library to work to protect children. She told me it wasn't her responsibility. She said it was nuanced and some 13-year-olds could read a book like Genderqueer while others could not. She told me the parents are responsible for their children. I warned her that this was a cop-out. She was in danger of being like Pontius Pilate when he claimed it wasn't his responsibility to determine the fate of Christ. She wants to wash her hands of her moral and ethical responsibilities as a community leader, listening to the cries of the wild mob, trans the kids. She even stated that books like Genderqueer, which depicts children engaged in sexual acts, are not pornography because of a legal loophole which allows depictions and drawings of minors engaged in sex. How illiberal of her to hold the view that the law is always morally right. As a professing Christian, she knows that she answers to a higher law than man's. She knows harming children is evil. She doesn't care. She chooses to inflict harm on children in our community because she would rather hear the applause of people who worship Ishtar and enslave children into ritual sex.
Thank you. James McDonald.
I appreciate this time to make a comment. I am a Christian. I am very concerned about the sexually explicit, gender-bending material freely available to children and adolescents. Historically, libraries have enjoyed a high degree of trust. This trust has been won by years of responsible practice. Christian County libraries have been the beneficiary of this legacy. This trust, once lost, will be difficult to regain. We live in the information age. With just an internet connection, the world is available. This has diminished to a degree the need for a library. It seems like a poor time to have a significant portion of Christian County questioning the worth of a library that they don't trust. I have no statistics, but I suspect that a large number of people, voters in Christian County, would be shocked to learn that sexually explicit material is freely available to children without warning to the child or to the parent. It is my understanding that this board has been asked to segregate sexually explicit gender-bending material by restricting access and requiring an adult to check it out. I appreciate the parental comments that were made earlier in this meeting. I think it's a partial solution, but I don't think it's a total solution. I do appreciate that. But I would also suggest until this material is actually physically restricted, I would propose the library board take a responsibility and place a sign that can't be missed, something to the effect, Christian County Library is proud to present sexually explicit, gender-bending material crafted for our children and teens. This material can be found freely in the children and young adult areas. With a sign like this, at least parents and guardians would be aware of what's in front of their kids in the library. Will you post something to this effect? We paint school buses yellow, we put flashing red lights on them, and we extend stop signs when they are loading and unloading. We have laws that make it illegal to ignore this. This is done for the safety of the kids. Please do the equivalent for the libraries. And finally, I don't understand why some think this material should be available to children. Do they believe that it is materially good for them? Is it an effort to desensitize children, engineer social change, and especially why this material? I do believe that this material can do significant damage to a child. What kind of thinking would lead anyone to take that chance? I also believe, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's a verse from our Bible. This material in front of the child is the exact opposite of what this verse instructs. This verse may not mean anything to you, but it does mean a great deal to a lot of Christian County. For whatever it's worth, there will be a day when each of us gives an accounting of both what we have done and what we could have done and did not do so. Please fix this. Thank you.
George?
When I start speaking, does that when time starts? Okay. How many are here that are against these books? Is that right to ask? When I was 13, I was very lost. I was starting to grow. I was experiencing a lot of things, and I was very lost. And going to school, I didn't know who I was or what I was capable of. And I started getting into pornography, and I started experimenting with myself, and I started dealing a lot with homosexuality, and I started doing a lot of heinous things to myself. By the time I was 16, I had such a bad porn addiction. I had such horrendous, heinous thoughts going in my head. And if I was exposed to these books telling me it was all right, I would not have this beautiful family I have now, because that's what these books are for. They are meant to destroy young children, to destroy generations, and you not making a choice is a choice. And you guys will all be accounted for it. Right here is my evidence that I've been saved, and it's because of Jesus. This is a war of good and evil, and you guys are accounted for it. And I'm begging, please take these out of here, because it will destroy lives. I've seen it. I have 3 homosexual brother-in-laws, and I see what it does. Every time I performed a heinous act, I wanted to kill myself. Countless times I tried to kill myself. And that you guys can do something. You guys have the power to do something. And I'm begging you, please, please, because I have 2 little daughters, and I don't want them to experience that. They want to come to the library, and all it takes is one moment. Your eyes and your ears are the window to your soul. They do not ask permission to get there. That's why music, you immediately feel it. That's why when you read something or see something on TV, as soon as I seen pornography, I was hooked. I was immediately hooked. But because of Jesus Christ, I am set free, and I have that beautiful picture of my family. I have a loving wife and 2 beautiful little daughters. And you guys have it. You guys have the authority to change this. And I'm not saying ban books. I'm not for banning books. I'm asking to simply take it out of here so kids cannot even walk in here and open it, but take it to an adult store where that kind of stuff is. That is all I'm asking. And you guys have the authority to do so. You do. Some things ain't easy in life, but this, you guys have the authority and the power. You can. And I believe it. And you can do it. You can help save children from this, because it is wicked. It is wicked. It almost killed me. But thanks be to God that I was saved by it. There's so many things and so many stories I could tell. I don't have the time. But you can make a difference. You can save someone from killing themselves, feeling the horrendous pain that I went through. And by the grace of God, I'm standing here today.
First, I'd like to make a correction to a statement that was made at the November Library Board meeting. An educated individual spoke about our democracy. However, Article 4, Section 4 of our Constitution states in part, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. Further, our founders were deeply wary of democracies. Alexander Hamilton, the ancient democracies in which the people themselves deliberated never possessed one feature of good government. Their very character was tyranny, their figure deformity. Thomas Jefferson said, the Republican is the only form of government which is not eternally at open or secret war with the rights of mankind. Secondly, some months ago, I requested information regarding the library's communications with both the ALA and the MLA for a period of about 3 or 4 months. I was charged $100 for this information. I received a file a couple weeks later of about 400 megabytes of HTML or .txt data. It was virtually unreadable. It was unintelligible except for a couple things. The data came in one big jumbled mess, After I complained, the same data was broken into smaller files but with similar results. Could the board investigate that issue for me so that I can access this information that our taxpayer-appointed and taxpayer-funded library board can look that up for us? One last thing, you know, kids may not be able to get books they may not be able to check out books at the library, but they can read those books without checking them out.
Yeah.
And so, as the other speaker said, it's only a very, very partial fix. And that's for parents who are very, very alert and awake and watching what their kids are doing. The majority, I wouldn't say the majority, but there are many children who are unattended in these libraries. I know, I've seen them myself. And all they have to do is pick up a book or look at something, and as the former speaker said, they're in big trouble. And you do have the authority as the board. The executive director does not have the authority. The board of trustees has the authority to protect children. And they need to do it.
Elena?
As a quick note about the ability to restrict a child's library card, I just wanted to echo the same thing. It's a small step with a long way to go. This week, I read a quote relevant to my concerns about our library by novelist Milan Kundera. It said, "People fascinated by the idea of progress never suspect that every step forward is also a step on the way to the end." It's no surprise to Christians that our society is blindly marching towards societal collapse and destruction if we exchange God's perfect plans for destructive agendas. What's viewed as progress is actually regressive when compared to the strides our world has taken since Jesus Christ entered the world. You don't have to be a Christian, though, to see this. All you have to do is look back at history. During the time of the early Christian church, the Roman world was replete with depravity that's increasingly making a return. Sexual deviance beyond what we can imagine was a part of everyday Roman culture. This culture stripped away the sacred identity of a being created in the image of God, reducing them to nothing more than a sexual identity to be used and exploited. Christians refused to take part in such deviance. At this time in history, human life was treated as worthless. Along with such disregard for human life throughout history came slavery, racism, abuse, lack of dignity and rights for women, greed, murder, strife. And then the Son of God entered the world, and we were forever changed. We were given a new identity in Christ, and over time, Christianity upended every injustice in the name of Jesus. But we are now regressing as a society back to the days of socially accepted depravity. And as Christians, we have a higher calling to God, not to man. The early Christian church, they had to make the choice to lay down their lives to follow God's word. And all we have to do in our modern era is feel uncomfortable from time to time and to speak truth in love. 1 Peter 4:8 warns us that your enemy, the devil, prowls around looking for someone to devour. We are instructed to resist the devil and stand firm in our faith. As we're gathered this evening for the last time of the year, I'd like to pray for you all and for our future that we will not regress in the name of progress. God, thank you for meeting us in this place and for our freedom to speak truth. I invite your Holy Spirit into this library and into all the public spaces of our county in the coming year. And I ask that you would give us guidance, that you would show us a way to honor you, to protect children in our community from evil, and to speak truth in love. Help us to learn from our past. And I lift up this library board to you. I lift up Echo, Stephanie, Allison, Diana, and Janice, as well as Renee. Lord, help this board to be courageous and seek the absolute truth. And I also lift up our commissioners as they face difficult decisions in this coming year. Give them wisdom. Thank you, Lord, for your faithfulness. We are undeserving of the mercy and grace you extend to us. And I ask that you would continue to call more Christians to bring light to our community, to glorify you and accomplish your will. Your word says in Romans 14, whatever does not proceed from faith is sin. So please help our community to act on faith in you. Amen.
Thank you.
was handed out before from my list. Showed some pie charts that were good. I got a big old wad of paper. It'll take me a minute.
Thank you.
Yes. Here we go. How do I have extra? I don't know. Ephesians 4:25. Therefore, each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor. At last month's library board meeting, some very astonishing things were spoken about during the public comment time, and I believe those things need to be addressed truthfully. First of all, the board members and the public were subjected to a roughly 15-minute or so gaslighting session. One of the speakers put together and shared an overview of what she believes to be the political profile of Christian County's population, pointing out various statistics of things like this county's history of involvement or non-involvement in all things public library, and the citizens' past recorded views when asked about the library. Now, while people of this opinion like to get together and reassure each other that they are the majority, they clearly aren't. I would recommend that they go to the information researched and read during the October meeting by Eileen Keene. All of those aforementioned views are nullified by well-researched data. This county is still a red, conservative-leaning county with officials from U.S. elections all the way down to state and county elections that still win those positions by espousing traditional, conservative views. I would submit that the reason why Christian County folks tend to be sentimental, soft, and indulgent when it comes to libraries is simply this. They fondly remember the libraries of their childhood, the days when Laura Ingalls Wilder and Mark Twain were standard fare. Memories of long golden hours spent adventuring through rows and rows of books with classmates or family members, seeing the world through the eyes of classic authors. Plainly speaking, most people are simply unaware that today's woke Christian County public library system is no longer their grandma's library. As a matter of fact, Eileen's publicly available data sheets, which I am resubmitting today, clearly show that Christian County's conservative majority of taxpayers is not being accurately represented by the content of material in this renegade activist public library. Shockingly, Christian County's public library system appears to be one of the highest ranking libraries in the state in the amount of sexually explicit and age-inappropriate material for children and youth, ranking up there with Kansas City and St. Louis. This is outrageous, and no amount of gaslighting can make this right. To date, there has been no real serious attempt to work with the public by labeling and cataloging these age-inappropriate books to keep them out of the hands of unsuspecting children. For these books to stay in the public library, tinkering around the edges of the problem and pretending to make concessions won't work. Bold, hard decisions on how these books are labeled and where they will be placed, and even which ones will be purchased with taxpayer dollars in the future are going to have to be carefully considered. It all boils down to this. When a very vocal minority has gained control and attempts to run roughshod over the wishes of the taxpaying majority, eventually an awakening and a pushback from the formerly silent majority occurs. My friends, welcome to the awakening.
Lucas Underwood.
I wanted to start off by thanking the members of the board for your patience in this very trying year. I know it's been a long one. As an avid reader and an advocate for learning, the verbal attacks and disinformation campaign and attempted action by interest groups in our own state government to discredit our libraries this year have been horrifying to see. I often find myself wondering why this institution, which has seen high approval since its inception, has been facing sudden backlash. I wonder why I don't see near as many protests or petitions against places like Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, or any other bookstores which carry the same literature that have been under scrutiny. I don't see social media campaigns rallying to take down websites like Tumblr or fanfiction.net, even though the teenagers on that site can write some stuff that makes even the most vile published literature look tame. Believe me, a Barnes & Noble employee won't really care if you or your kid takes any book off the shelf and flies through it, then puts it back. As a former retail employee, I can confirm we were never paid enough to go through that. So why is it such a problem when someone can pick off any book at a shelf in a library when that's how any other book vendor works? And then it hit me I have checked out 73 audiobooks this year myself. I've had a lot of time to listen, and thanks to that and the freely available content from the library, I have essentially kept over $1,000 from big conglomerates like Audible on my own with the help of Christian County Library. And from what I'm hearing, we keep about a few million from those same conglomerates every year as a whole. Go team. I believe that many who speak out in criticism of what the library carries do come from an understandable place, but the campaigns themselves are nothing but a benefit to those of moneyed interests. I know this because the game was given away a few months ago when our majority Republican members of Congress just decided they would just cut all funding, all state funding from our libraries. The bill went through, but was stopped by one person who realized that it would have been a complete violation of our state's constitution. The campaigns aren't really about keeping kids safe or making sure our libraries have an appropriate inventory. They're just about tearing them down however they can, by either accusing them of indoctrination or forcing unqualified leadership to sabotage them from the inside. It's all been the same, it's just about the money.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.